We're here at the Old Exchange for a sit-down with Charleston's newest leader, who began his first term as mayor of Charleston last month. As our historic city embarks on a new chapter under fresh administration, Mayor William Cogswell is joining us to discuss his vision, priorities, and plans for Charleston's future. Mayor Cogswell, you are a husband, a brother, a father, a community leader, and now the mayor of Charleston. I want to congratulate you on that and give our viewers a little bit of a reminder on who you are and what brought you to this point.
Sure. Well, you summed it up pretty succinctly. I've been born and raised here. I was in the real estate business before I got elected mayor. Was in the state legislature as a part-time legislator for 6 years. That really whetted my appetite for public service, and when deciding whether or not I wanted to run again, I looked at my hometown and thought, you know, I had some skill sets that could be a benefit, so decided to throw my hat in the ring, and here I am.
Well, we'll talk about your goals in a little bit, but I do want to ask you, what takes priority in your mind? What is most important?
Well, again, I mean, I think if you're talking about me personally, I would say my family, but certainly the city is incredibly dear to me, as it is to, I think, really anybody that doesn't necessarily have to be from here. I mean, one of the things I say about Charleston that is so unique that it doesn't matter if you've been here for 10 months or 10 generations, there's a passion for this place that people have that gives a good foundation to govern from, I think.
Absolutely.
So Charleston, I would say, is obviously a top priority because I'm now the mayor.
Yeah, and now something that you emphasize is smart growth. Can you elaborate on how you plan to proactively manage development to ensure that infrastructure precedes growth?
Yeah, I think that is where the public sector has been really missing out, and why I think people are so frustrated with growth. Some growth is good. I'd tell people, if you're not growing, you're dying. And a lot of cities across this country are having real problems with out-migration. Well, we're having the opposite issues. We've got growing pains. And one of the core tenets of government, particularly local government in my mind, is to make sure infrastructure is there to support that growth. And you can direct where and how growth occurs largely through infrastructure. But to date, it's just really been behind the private sector, and that's something I intend to change. And to do that, to be fair, you really need to work closely with other government entities, particularly the county, other municipalities like North Charleston and Mount Pleasant, but also very closely with the state, because that's where a lot of the funding comes from.
Yeah, and now another point that you drive home is prosperous preservation. I know preservation is very important to you. And now, in the face of development pressures and urbanization, can you share your plans regarding historic preservation and also cultural heritage conservation in Charleston?
Yeah, I go back to what makes Charleston so special is the people that live here, the residents. And oftentimes that's forgotten, and so you need to put residents first, and that's all residents, not just residents of one neighborhood or another, because what Charleston is internationally known for is its culture, and its culture is derived from people that have been here from all walks of life for generations, but also, as I mentioned earlier, we're the recipients of the brain drain from the rest of the country. We have these incredible people and businesses that are locating here that are adding to that character. So you want to protect what people love about Charleston, and there's a lot to love, but you also want to enhance it, and that can be done, I think, if it's curated and organized.
As development progresses, risks of displacement of longstanding community members becomes more prevalent. How do you plan to prevent that?
Well, there are a lot of different opportunities to protect folks that have been here and created this character that everybody loves so much about Charleston. That can be anywhere from affordable housing initiatives, which there are a lot of funding mechanisms for that. It's complicated, there's no silver bullet, but my administration is very focused on ensuring that we have a pretty healthy stock of affordable housing so that people can stay in the places in the neighborhoods that they grew up in. And then it's also things like economic development opportunities, particularly for minority businesses. And I've got some great team members that I brought on to my staff, one of whom is Wendell Gilliard, a long-term standing member of the legislature. He and I got to be good friends up there, really an icon in the community, and he's been incredibly helpful in opening doors to me that, or worlds to me that I wasn't overly familiar with. Same thing with Mika Gadsden, which is an unusual situation where she actually ran against me, but listening to her voice during the campaign was pretty powerful and gave me a perspective that frankly I need to be able to govern in a way that includes all different types of people, not just folks that voted for me per se.
And now how do you plan to make sure that all of those voices are heard in decision making, whether it's large decision making or something that directly affects their neighborhoods or the quality of those people's lives?
Well, again, I go back to the fact that I brought some folks on for specifically that purpose, for engagement in economic development initiatives. So I think we're going to be very creative. I think you have to be creative on addressing these complicated issues. What's often thought of is fix-all policy just doesn't exist. And the thing I like about local government is that you can try different things, and you need to try different things so that you can customize it for what works here. And even what might work on the peninsula might not work West Ashley or might not work on Johns Island. So you need to not only be creative and working through various regions of the city, but also specific neighborhoods. And I'm excited. I mean, those are the kind of things that really do excite me because I see opportunities. Myself and my team, we've rolled up our sleeves and are getting after it.
We need to take a break. We'll be back with Mayor Cogswell on Charleston traffic, flooding, and more after this. We're back at the Old Exchange downtown, where we're talking with newly elected Mayor William Cogswell on his plans for Charleston.
Something that we all deal with is traffic, but it affects neighborhoods differently. Sure. So do you have any plans according to traffic issues?
Absolutely. I mean, you take Johns Island, for example, it's a nightmare. And people out there are rightfully extremely frustrated. So we have been meeting with community leaders, Councilman McBride, who's the newly elected city council member out there, and focusing on things that can happen here and now. Because I think people are tired of, well, this is coming down the road and that's going to be 5 years away. I mean, they want to see relief, now. And it's not that you can solve everything, but if you can add a turning lane here, or you can time a light differently. I mean, those are things that we're working pretty astutely on that I think could make a pretty significant difference while we're waiting on the funding for some of these larger initiatives.
Mm-hmm. And now, something that I did read is that there is a possible idea or plan that you're thinking of regarding flooding. Could you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, flooding is something that is a major issue. Obviously, I don't have to tell anybody that lives near the water. And there have been a lot of initiatives and thoughts around that for a while now. And my take on it is we absolutely, when it comes to the peninsula, we need to figure out some form of an elevated edge. Or think of the battery going around the peninsula. There have been some earlier studies that call for a much larger wall. That I don't think works with the character of the city, though it does provide maximum protection. I'm looking at something that works more with the city, is more realistic on a cost perspective, and I think is something, frankly, that City Council will agree with. But you can't just focus on the peninsula either. I mean, there are major initiatives that need to be done, fixes that need to be done in West Ashley, on James Island, and on Johns Island. And some of that's as simple as cleaning out drainage ditches, but there are other things like the Church Creek drainage basin that needs a little bit more work. So it's a big lift, but is one that we have to tackle because the tides aren't getting any lower.
Well, you're right on that one. And now, Mayor Cogswell, I have to ask you, what legacy do you hope to leave behind as a mayor of Charleston?
Look, again, this is a very special place. I want to make sure that what makes its character what it is again, not only protected, but enhanced. I want my children to be able to live here and have a career here. I want my grandchildren to be able to live here and have a career here. That's what's happened in my family for generations, and I don't plan to be the one that prevents that from happening, for sure.
Absolutely. Well, I'd like to congratulate you again, and we look forward to speaking with you more. And
I look forward to it as well.
We
Absolutely.
wish you best on your journey.
No, well, thank you. I appreciate it.
We're back after this.